I'm so excited to tell you about the Kroger OptUp app. OptUp is your virtual assistant for healthier shopping. I've been using OptUp with my grocery shopping, and now I'm more mindful as I make food choices for my family at Kroger. What I love the most is how OptUp tracks my household score automatically based off what I'm purchasing at Kroger. OptUp also makes recommendations for healthier alternatives and nutrition facts of the foods we purchase. OptUp is very easy to use. Download it today in the App Store or Google Play. Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Well, everyone, welcome back to another great edition of the Produce Moms Podcast. I have really enjoyed sharing all these different types of stories with you. As a reminder, when we were starting the podcast, we surveyed our Facebook group to ask our most inner circle members and followers of TPM what kind of topics they would be interested in here on the podcast. And, one of the topics was about the family farming stories here within the United States. Who are these American family farms that are responsible for bringing fruits and vegetables to our homes and to our restaurants? And today's guest, Seth Karm, he's a dear friend of mine, someone who's been a big part of my professional journey, he and his father-in-law, who we will learn about in today's interview. But, Seth has worked at Salad Savoy Corporation now for almost 20 years, and he is serving as the next generation of leadership for this American family farm that specializes in colorful, fun, delicious vegetables. So I cannot wait to welcome Seth to the broadcast today. We've got some great questions that we're going to ask him, and knowing Seth, you guys, this is going to be a lot of fun. So Seth, welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Lori. Very happy to be here and very happy to be with you, and just many thanks for having this podcast here. It's a great service for all these stories and just facts and figures about the wonderful produce industry. It's wonderful to be here with you.
Well, thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for all that you do. So you guys, for those of you that follow our Facebook Live broadcast, you might remember our recent Facebook Live where we did the Southwest Slaw. It's one of our most popular new recipes from our summer recipe series at TPM. We made that Southwest Slaw with the Salad Savoy, and it was also, Seth, I don't know if you've had a chance to view the Facebook Live yet, but it was the first of the Facebook Live episodes. I think we were on like episode 21 with the Facebook Live series. First one where I had like a total blooper during the live broadcast. I was cutting the avocado and it like totally slipped out of my hand and like flew across the kitchen, literally. So,
well, it looked extremely professional. Looked delicious, to be honest. I was wanted to go get another head from the field and bring that home.
Yeah. Well, your products really are. They are some of the best products I've ever had. Why don't we just kind of go ahead and get into what the products are? Like what is Salad Savoy? I mean, I know that those who have followed the Produce Moms carefully have an understanding. They know that it's this beautiful, colorful vegetable that's a cross between a kale and a cabbage. But you tell us, what is it?
Well, at the root, the Salad Savoy is an open-headed brassica, which basically means it's part of that brassica family. Tastes like broccoli or cauliflower. The flavor is very similar. And it's in that same cabbage family as well. The Salad Savoy is its own vegetable. It's actually known as Salad Savoy leafy vegetable. And it grows in violet and white heads out in the field with a green savoyed edge. That's the Savoy right there, that crispy, crinkly edge. And
I didn't realize that. So the Savoy refers to the crinkly edge.
That is correct. There's actually Savoy cabbage out there. It has the same, it's an open-headed cabbage that grows with the same open or Savoyed edge as well. But it's I think it was Johnny back in 1984 when he first went commercial with that, but he had been doing a lot of export business, and especially up in Sweden. And he had seen a couple things and got his brain. He was, according to him, it was a few glasses of aquavit as well that really got the juices flowing. And he came up with this idea of having this edible vegetable, and went to work as soon as he came back to the States at really trying to work with a seed producer and do R&D on that to come up with this very flavorful, gorgeous vegetable. You know, in the 80s, you were definitely seeing a lot of colorful produce starting to come up, more so in Europe than in the United States. So he wanted to bring a little bit of that kind of gourmet, colorful flair back to the States and get to work on that. So that's where that came about.
Yeah, that's a great story. You know, when people find out that I know your father-in-law, John Moore, he's an industry icon and legend in and of itself. But a lot of times people are always quick to say, so what do you think of him? I'm like, well, I think he's just pure entertainment. You know, that day that I was able to spend in Yuma, Arizona with John touring the fields is among one of the best days of my professional career. This man is a wealth of knowledge. I mean, how do you describe him, your father-in-law, the man who started Salad Savoy? I've
always thought of him as a crazy person. And I had actually met him. I met his daughter we were going to college back in Boston, and I met him for the first time in 1989. So pretty, soon into this history of Salad Savoy. And it was just, he was a dynamo, definitely a dynamo of a person, just always moving, grooving, going at high energy, high speed all the time. You know, from the way he drives to the way he talks to the way he operates, it's just high energy. And it's such a model, I think he's brought that model into this office as well, because you got to be upbeat. We're talking about vegetables at the end of the day, and he's done a masterful job at getting people excited about our vision, our company, our items. And, we're selling kale, chard, and cauliflower. And these, back in the 80s were items that were not the hot items at all. And there was, a long period of time where that was the case. And not until, I would say, the mid 2000s, where you start to see this emphasis on really nutrition. I mean, iceberg and romaine, nothing against them. They're delicious. But that was kind of the mainline staples that people dealt with. And you get into these dark leafy greens, and you could see in the supermarket, it was always at the end of the aisle. And his whole philosophy was really being this jewel in the sea of green. And I think that it's a very tough road to hoe, no pun intended, when you're doing that, because, you're always on the end of the row. It's just all the healthy stuff at the end there. We'll have all romaine and green leaf and red leaf and certain staples there. So he's done a masterful job in terms of marketing as well. I mean, I get stories, like you say, you hear stories from people, and the entire time I've been here, I get stories from other people like, your father-in-law is just crazy. He came to this trade show and he was dressed like Yankee Doodle, and he's out there doing this Patrick Henry routine, and back in Boston. Or even when I first started working here, I'd been here a month or two, and he's like, we're going to do a presentation for, the Proacs and the Ciscos of the world. And we're going to go get turkey costumes and dress up for Thanksgiving. I had come here from an investment.
You're not lying. This is so John Moore. I love it. And I think his spirit comes alive when you visit the website and you see some of the things, some of the taglines that are important to your company. I mean, certainly Salad Savoy is home of color, taste, and nutrition. But then when you see that, like adjectives like colorific are actually trademarked adjectives for Salad Savoy, I just absolutely love it. And see it all kind of coming full circle as you're describing some of these stories about him wearing turkey costumes for the Thanksgiving meetings. I love that.
Well, and the thing is, for a certain period of time, I thought it was just this kind of a homespun. He's kind of a hokey, farmer-esque kind of thing, but he's brilliant. He's a brilliant marketer. He knows, he's been working in the produce industry, since he was a 14-year-old, really. and working in packing sheds and working out in the fields and hoeing and weeding and tilling and working in the coolers and doing just about every job imaginable in this industry. And it's that kind of knowledge that he brings to the table, that wealth of knowledge, that wealth of the entire landscape, that's been a real inspiration. And that's been a real gift for me to see that and have that influence my own personal development here at Salad Savoy.
Right. So your father-in-law, John Moore, is actually the man who he created the Salad Savoy. I do want to kind of dive into what this means. One thing that, this podcast wants to do is educate people on the facts about their food. And I do think that there's misconceptions when people see things like a colored cauliflower, or if they see, or if they hear that, a new vegetable was developed and, what was it, 1984? Is that when it was developed, I believe? Tell the story of how that happened so that people understand this is a 100% natural process, and what it means when we say that a product is crossed.
For sure. And that is the most important thing, that the Salad Savoy, it actually has its own genetics. It has its own, gone to the Supreme Court. It's been proven as its own specific type of vegetable. And it's basically with the brassica family, you can cross things very easily as far as pollinating and crossing different vegetables. So that's a process that I would defer to him on that conversation as far as the specific genetic.
You know who we can defer it to? We just conducted an interview and published a podcast with Nature Ripe and their the Pacific Berry Breeding Company. They're the woman who manages all of the breeding there. She's the director of breeding and research. So we did just actually talk about plant breeding and how that happens right here on the podcast.
That's fantastic. I mean, and it really is, you can pollinate, you cross-pollinate, take the pollen from one plant and put it into the other plant, and you fertilize that plant, and you cross it, and you do it again and again and again until it really gets you the attributes you're looking for, which for this Salad Savoy was really bolt resistancy, and color, and the ability to grow. It is a cold crop. It prefers cold weather. We do grow it year round. We grow it down in Yuma, Arizona, where it gets up to 115 degrees, and so it's really been a process to year over year continually refine that R&D to give us the attributes that we want to see on that plant, which is the bright violet of the colors, the bright white in the white Salad Savoy, and obviously the flavor is key, and being able to have it so that you can manage the crop, so it doesn't all go to flower basically when it's at a certain point, which is a lot of what in 1985, you see flowering kale hits the market, and that flowering kale it's basically a knockoff, but it's a garnish that you see a lot of salad bars lined with. You see it growing in the beds out in front of the bank. You might have it lining the edge because it is a hardy flower, and I think that was definitely a point of contention throughout the history of Salad Savoy. Is that you can go into a seed catalog, you can get this cheap seed and plant it, and people did, and suddenly we were dealing with this competition issue in year 2 of the Salad Savoy Corporation. And so we always try to say, that's the F word. Flowering kale is the F word.
Kale. No, you've taught me that. I think, so I definitely understand that, but it's important to educate people on the real differences. And I think the difference is in the flavor. Exactly.
And that really is it. That one tastes like a broccoli or cauliflower. Flowering kale is a flower. It's not necessarily meant to be eaten. And
right.
It's got a real kind of a bitter flavor to it. So when you see the Salad Savoy,
the flavor of Salad Savoy is so unique.
And with your slaw recipe that you had done, I mean, that is a fantastic usage for that, because a lot of people see kale as a cooking item. And okay, well, I can steam it, I can cook it, I can saute it, and those are all wonderful preparations. And it definitely changes the flavor, where it really brings out the sugar that's present in the stalk and the stem and in the leaves. So it gives it a real kind of a sweet flavor when it's cooked, but when it's eaten, consumed raw, it's fantastic too. It's got a real good sort of a slaw Savoy, cabbage flavor to it, like a broccoli or cauliflower. And it's wonderful. That's what we are trying to do these days, is really encourage the raw edibility of that item too.
Oh, it's delicious. And I will say the Salad Savoy chips, like oven baked or dehydrated chips, is another one of my like absolute favorites. There is nothing like it. I mean, I've made a ton of kale chips using pretty much every variety of kale. Nothing tastes as good and cooks up as evenly as the Salad Savoy chips. They really are. It's a great, great treat.
The real problem is keeping them around. I will say that.
Yeah, I'll sit down and I'll eat the whole tray.
I make a batch, and I'll bring one to the office. I'll bring one here to the house, and it's, they're gone. They're all gone. They're all gone in a day. And I'm like, okay, that took 15 hours to dehydrate. And I usually dehydrate them at a lower setting, which preserves the enzymes of the plant. So it's still considered raw food, and you do get all those benefits out without cooking any of that out, that nutrition out. But that's a tasty one, but definitely all natural. We don't do all of our items here at Salad Savoy are non-GMO, so they're not doing any kind of genetic editing, which is a big thing these days. And I certainly don't.
There's so much confusion about it too. I mean, we've actually experienced this, Seth. Do you remember the instance where we were promoting, I believe it was the carnival cauliflower, which is your colored cauliflower, and we were promoting that on Facebook, and someone started saying, I would eat this, but I don't eat GMOs. And we're like, well, it's not, there's nothing about this that is genetically modified. And then you were able to come in through the Salad Savoy handle and further educate our follower with the information about it being a total natural brassica. And, and that was really important for us to emphasize. And I always want to emphasize that when we have the opportunity to do so. So thank you for bringing it up.
Oh, for sure. And I think that with the sustainability efforts that have been going on for the past, I would say 8 to 10 years, as far as becoming really part of the forefront of the conversation, that's been a big part of it. And people do want to know that we don't have these frankenfoods. And I have nothing against them. I think there's a certain use for those. If you're growing staple crops in arid areas of Africa, that is a fantastic idea. There's a wonderful usage for those. I do think that people don't, when I see what's happening with the bees, maybe where you've got this natural pesticide built into the plant, and you've got the colony collapse disorder, that can be obviously one of the downsides of that. But for our stuff, we just, even with the carnival cauliflower, these are all, like I said, in that same brassica family. They can be crossed, with a purple kale, for instance, to give you that purple cauliflower. And it's really, over the years, the broccoli flower, obviously, or the green cauliflower is the broccoli cauliflower cross. That one's a very easy one. The yellow or the orange cauliflower, the word is still out on that one. There's apparently a marsh flower up in Canada that had crossed somehow into the cauliflower crops up there, and that was in the 70s.
Oh, really? So it's not really known how it became orange?
There's not really a lot of information on that one. So
I love that.
Basically,
there's a little bit of mystery. Yeah.
Well, and it's a beta carotene. That's what gives it that orange hue. Right. But it's really, those two don't necessarily cross, a carrot and a cauliflower. So it's, I don't know how it made that jump specifically on that one, but somebody discovered it, and we kind of liken it to an heirloom variety of cauliflower, because general white cauliflower has been bred, selective breeding for 60 years to make it arrive in your supermarkets looking field fresh. But in doing so, you kind of lose a little bit of the natural flavor of that. So we bring these cauliflowers to the trade, and while they are a little bit more tender as far as handling goes, which we've had to deal with over the last 15 years now, it's definitely a better mouthfeel, and it's got enhanced flavors. It's really, you can taste the difference between the colors and a regular white cauliflower. Right. And we want, as our tagline says, we're the home of color, taste, nutrition. We really want to hammer that point down and bring the tastiest vegetables that really dress up a plate.
That's great. And you do that. You do just that. And, we got to talk about what happened in 2012 at Salad Savoy. That was the development of truly what is probably, if it's not my favorite vegetable, it's tied for first with others, because it's one of my absolute favorite, the lollipops.
Our Lollipops kale sprouts. And that, that's what people say is they haven't really seen a new vegetable enter the trade since I think it was a Chinese broccoli or a gailan. And that was kind of the one before that. But there aren't a lot of new vegetables that come to the trade. And this one was nowhere to be found in the United States at that point in time. There was a seed breeder in England that was working on this. And it was right about the time that we had set up for this Brassica consortium in Sicily to go there. I was planning on going myself, but my lovely father-in-law decided that was a trip that he needed to make. But on that trip, he ended up stopping over in the UK and meeting with Tozier Seeds. And they have been working on that seed themselves. And it was a very limited release. There were a couple Marks and Spencer stores that were carrying that. And he just discovered that, we were looking at purple Brussels sprouts at the time. And this lollipop, or flower sprouts as they were known as the UK at that time, were truly unique. And it's a hybrid between a Brussels sprout and a red kale. So you get these little rosettes of red kale that grow on a stalk like a Brussels sprout. But unfortunately it's all hand labor. You can't just put it through a mechanical stripper and have
laborious.
it.
Yeah.
So it was definitely from the get-go a difficult project to undertake because of the labor and just because of learning how to grow a new crop, which is always and trying to figure out a new crop is always difficult. And it takes a certain amount of lifetime to really figure that out, create the demand for it, educate people as to what to do with it. And I think you have been extremely valuable in helping us get the word out on that and what to do with these things. And a couple of your recipes are fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you. Really, yeah, you cannot go wrong with the lollipops, you guys. They're so good. You know what else I think has played a really big role in consumer recognition of your products are the meal delivery kits.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a huge sector, and there's so many players that are trying to get into that and trying to figure out where to, do you get these meal kits at the supermarket? Are they at the Kroger's of the world? Are they at the Costco's of the world? Where do you find these? Do you get them sent to your house? There's a lot of packaging issues that come into play there, and everyone's got their particular niche of, do you want to do all organic? Do you want to do all vegetarian?
Correct.
But I think, the lollipops are a perfect fit for those because of the portionality of that. You can just have a perfect, 6 or 5 there. And we've done a couple of those with the lollipop kale sprouts, which the way those orders go are always challenging because they want, 10,000 pounds and I want to have it next Thursday. And, we'll find a way. We've always found a way. And that's kind of, again, goes back to Johnny Moore. He'll find a way. He's a fighter. I will not say no. We will find a way. And we've made that happen.
Yep. No, that's great. And I know also when you guys visit the Salad Savoy website, you can also see some mentions of a lot of the different restaurants that use their products. I mean, Salad Savoy is definitely, it's a chef favorite, no doubt.
Well, and all those items, the Salad Savoy itself is a versatile vegetable. We do our Bright Light Swiss chard, which is that gorgeous 5-color chard.
Right.
They're very flexible in terms of what you can do with it. If you want to add it to a salad, for instance, if you want to put it into soups, if you want to put it into pastas, you can roll food up in it and make, dolmas or that kind of a different, any kind of cuisine. It just really lends itself to just about every kind of cuisine. And obviously peak nutrition on all of our items. So it definitely brings a blast of color and they're fun to cook with.
They are. Yeah. I love the steaming grains.
And that was, I believe, 97 when we first debuted that one.
Mm-hmm. And that's a mix. Yeah, it's a blend. Go ahead, explain it.
Yeah, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, basically, of our Bright Lights and our Salad Savoy. So you get the violet and the white Salad Savoy. You get the orange, pink, red, white, and gold of the Bright Lights. So it's just a gorgeous pack, and it almost doesn't even look like food when you open the bag. I think a lot of chefs see that bag and this is gorgeous. It's a basic braising blend. If you want to put it in a saute pan for about 3 minutes and you serve it underneath your main plate protein or not, if you are a vegetarian. I would like to have my hearty steak, excuse me. But that's just me.
Yeah, it's me too. But you know what? I eat vegetarian too. And it's not even necessarily with intention. It's just because I love vegetables so much. I don't necessarily miss the meat, but yeah, a good steak dinner with a side of steaming greens, best night ever.
It is fantastic. I mean, and even with the simple, if you do a Caesar dressing with that, the raw salad or the raw steaming greens with a little Caesar dressing and toss it, because it's got that, you need a hearty dressing to stand up to that flavor, but it's delicious. And you put that on a plate and people are overwhelmed.
Yeah,
we've got a couple, sorry, I was going to say we have a couple recipes. We actually have one coming up for 4th of July. You can check out saladsavoy.com if you want. And that recipe, I believe, is live as of today.
Yeah, no, we're featuring it in our newsletter.
Beautiful.
And yeah, the podcasts are pre-recorded. So obviously by the time this is live on air, it will, hopefully our audience will be very familiar with it. It's very cool. The one where you cut out the bell peppers into shapes of stars.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very creative. Really, really enjoyed it.
It's not just for the 4th of July. It is definitely, and again, we want to push that, the edibility of Salad Savoy year round. It's not just a wintertime vegetable. That's when it's most easily grown, but we do grow it year round on all of our items, whether we're in Salinas up here for the bulk of the year or down in Yuma, Arizona for the wintertime. And it's meant to be eaten year round, and it's always tasty.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. So we've talked about the history of Salad Savoy. We've talked about some of both your and my personal favorites within all the products that you guys grow. We've certainly had some fun talking about John Moore, the founder, and your father-in-law. What's next at Salad Savoy? Is there anything else that you want to make sure that we talk about before our time is up today?
Well, and I think the most important thing is really continuing the vision that was started by both John and Marsha Moore. And that's since 2016, we had transitioned into an ESOP. So we are now an employee-owned company under the auspices of John Moore, the founder, and Marsha Moore, founder. So they have basically turned the reins over the company to our staff here now. And our whole goal is to continue the integrity, continue the vision, continue to pioneer new items as they come online, basically. We are constantly scanning seed catalogs, constantly looking at the web. We do work with a lot of seed producers, actually, to kind of see, people are trialing new veggies all the time. We do it with our cauliflower. We have trials in year round, and with other items as well. We're constantly looking for the next beautiful thing, whether it's a broccoli, purple broccoli rabe, or purple Brussels sprouts still. We want to find something that really fits our niche of color, taste, and nutrition, and hopefully grows the same way. And we had looked at colored carrots for a while, but it's just an entirely different process of growing and storage and everything. And it just doesn't necessarily fit our mold. I love those. I love to eat them. They're fantastic. But
I do too. The maroon ones are probably my favorite. I love them.
Well, and they're beautiful if you do a cross section, or you can ribbon them out. They just make a wonderful salad if you want to do an Asian salad, something like that. But not for us, unfortunately. But that's kind of what we're always looking at. We're just angling, and with our lollipops right now, we're just starting to get some really good traction as far as being able to sell that entire crop and not have to sample out as much. And so now is the time when we start thinking about that, because it's about a 2-year cycle to really bring something online, to look and find the right packaging that goes with that, to figure out the growing, put a few trials in so that you can see how it performs at different times of the year round.
So you're in that exploratory stage right now where you're trying to decide exactly what is next.
Exactly. And that's, hopefully we're always doing that. And I know John was always doing that, forever. And sometimes it was frustrating because I'm like, let's just start making money on this one first, and then we can work on the next one. He's just, no, we'll keep that hopper going. We'll keep that hopper churning the entire time. I love it.
He's got that entrepreneurial fire in him, it's great. Totally. I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it's the passion. He really loves produce, and you talk to people all the time, and every once in a while you have one of these conversations with people that are true produce people. and they love vegetables. They love what they do. A lot of people, fill out boxes and are buyers, and they're just, we're going to fill orders, but they're the other people that open the box and look at this and get their hands on there. And what does it feel like? What is the quality? And it's just, he's definitely been that person. And I think he's always associated with people that are the same like-minded people, that we love this. We love what we do.
I like to think so. Yeah, no, I like to think so. And he has, he's played a huge role in my journey. I don't know if you realize this, but when I made the choice and made the announcement that I was buying the Produce Moms and going off on my own with it, as opposed to essentially shutting it down, he was the first person that reached out to me and told me, your bravery is what this is the spirit of agriculture. You being brave, doing, going with your instinct, going with your passion, working for your passion, and not really having certainty about what's next, So he was the first person to reach out and encourage me in the journey. And I will never, you'll never forget that when you go through such a life-changing stage, and you never forget who was there for you when you needed it the most.
Well, and I think he's been that, and he and Marsha both for all of us here at one point or another, and really being kind of I would say a bedrock for all of us. And just in terms of, this has been, it's not always easy. Being in the produce industry is not always easy. During the recessionary times, it was some difficult years in there. And I think between the two of them, John and Marsh, they really have a beautiful blend, a beautiful relationship, not just personally, but also professionally, in terms of, one person running off on fire, unbridled, and the other person, keeping things a little bit more in check, and, reining him in a little bit. Yeah. I don't need to tell you which one is which, but
nope.
she's always been the finance guru here, and I think it's a wonderful blend of vision and reality, and continuing to be able to grow things at a pace that's very measured. And that's always what we want. We just want to continue that continued measured pace of growth, where we're doing 6 to 8 to 9 to 12% a year as far as year-over-year growth, and that's what we want. I mean, a conservative growth, and obviously trying to fold new items in to really enrich our whole lineup.
I love it. That's great. Well, I can't thank you enough, Seth, for your time today and for sharing more about your family's story, your family's farm, the employee-owned Salad Savoy. That's got to feel good for all of the people who work there, and just shedding light on the heritage of your products, and the many ways we can use them and where we all can find them. I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. So tell us where listeners can go to learn more about Salad Savoy.
Definitely visit us. We've got a ton of recipes out on YouTube. You can always see new updates on our Facebook page. You can see new updates on our Twitter feed. Give us a call anytime. We do have recipe books if you ever want to check them out. We do have those that we can send out to our listeners. Definitely.
Awesome. Maybe we'll do an Instagram giveaway or something of one. That would be fun.
We could do that. And we work with Mr. Food down in Florida, and he's put together these cookbooks for us. So it's wonderful recipes, and obviously you can get them for free as well online. But he's got a whole series of little tasty style videos that just quick and easy for the average household. How do we make this? How do we dress
recipes
it?
Are great.
And that's what we want.
My favorite one is the pickled one that you guys just published this spring. Pickled bright lights.
Well, and that's definitely one of those that, pickling is something old is new once again, Yes. It's one of those. You can pickle. Actually, the bright light stems are a wonderful thing to pickle too. If you ever you take those bright lights, a lot of people don't eat the stems, and you just put those in and do a simple pickle with those. They look gorgeous, and you have a nice little pickled stem you can do. Add it to your Bloody Mary if you want, or just eat it raw.
Oh yeah.
I'll go with the Bloody Mary myself.
Me too. So let's cheers to that.
Cheers to that, indeed.
So thank you so much, Seth, for being part of today's show. You guys will make sure and provide links in the show notes to where you can engage with Salad Savoy and learn more about their products and their amazing recipes. Truly one of our favorite vegetables at the Produce Moms, a company that means a lot to us and a company that we really believe in. So thank you for being here today, Seth.
Thank you for having us, and keep up the good work. You are a wonderful voice and advocate for veggies and the produce industry.
Oh, well, thank you. It's my pleasure. So I hope you have a great day, and I hope all of our listeners have a great day. Thank you guys for being here.
Eat healthy.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms Podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to Lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.